Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of soccer, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. The Full Time podcast is presented and powered by 91 Network. You are listening to Season 6, Episode 7 of Full Time. I'm your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. The Full-Time Podcast is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their 2 locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. The Full-Time Podcast is also sponsored by Sault Sports. To check out Sault Sports and all of their articles, announcements, and streaming platforms, including True House Media and True North Radio, visit SaultSports.com as well as Sault Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We remind our listeners that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi-weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms for public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi-weekly as well. Folks, we are delighted to have you back with us on Full Time, where we get to talk to you about the beautiful game. Gee, how are you tonight, sir?
I am doing fantastic tonight. Scarps, how about you?
I'm doing fantastic as well, man. Can't wait to get into today's show. And in today's show, we will look at the transfer window. We'll also preview Europe's Big Five for the upcoming season. We're going to take a look at some news in the world of soccer as well. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on all platforms of 91 Network. And without further ado, Gitano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kick off. We get today's show started with some news in the world of football. Crystal Palace, who were the 2025 FA Cup winners, qualified for this upcoming season's Europa League as a result. However, due to various scenarios following an unsuccessful appeal, Palace will now be playing in this season's Conference League. The following story comes from skysports.com. The article states, quote, Crystal Palace will play in the UEFA Conference League after the Court of Arbitration for Sport, the CAS, ruled UEFA's original decision to demote them from the Europa League will stand. Palace, who beat Liverpool to win the Community Shield on Sunday, qualified for the Europa League by winning the FA Cup in May. However, they were demoted to the Conference League by European football's governing body UEFA on July 11th after it determined that, as of March 1st, American businessman John Textor had control and influence at both Palace and French club Lyon. Palace appealed against their demotion, and Eagles chairman Steve Parrish attended a 10-hour hearing in front of 3 CAS judges on Friday, but the Premier League club, who will now consider their legal options, have lost their appeal. Nottingham Forest, who traveled to Selhurst Park for Palace's first home league game on August 24th, are set to take Palace's place in the Europa League, end quote. Gitano, we covered this originally on Full Time last month, and we promised to our listeners that we'd keep everybody informed. Decision has come through that Palace has been demoted down to the Conference League. What is your analysis and thoughts now that everything's finalized here?
Yeah, a couple thoughts. First of all, I don't think there's legal options past CAS. Like, they're, as far as I'm aware, kind of the highest authority in sport in terms of that kind of like judicial power. I guess is the best way to put it. Like, I don't think there's any higher than that. I'm really not sure what legal actions Palace could take at this point. I also think it's a little weird that they let it get this far, Palace, I should say, and the ownership group. We've seen multi-club ownership teams all play in the same competition at the same time, notably Man City and Girona, and also the Red Bull group, Leipzig and Salzburg, have all been, in the same Champions League kind of tournament at the same time. So there's a way to do it properly, and Palace just didn't. So sucks to suck. So yeah, they'll be, on the outside looking in, just like Dean Henderson was outside of his box handballing that ball against Holland in the FA Cup final. So karma.
One of those things indeed. And like you said, there was time to rectify the situation. The rules are the rules. And I think it's relatively clear in the sense that if you don't follow that you wouldn't be in whatever competition you qualified for. So it's a bit unfortunate for Palace, but at the end of the day, everyone's kind of, I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of people are acting like it's the end of the world for Palace. but they're still getting European football, which with their league position last year, they weren't really near. So at the end of the day, they got to be happy that they have something rather than nothing. And then in terms of that mistake, it's a huge wake up call for them. And quite frankly, like you said, anybody who has two teams that are involved with the same level of ownership, it's a wake up call for them to make sure that everyone is following the rules. So Palace demoted down to the Conference League, and that's basically the end of that story. And yeah, we move forward, and Nottingham Forest, I'm sure, are delighted as well. We now shift gears to the summer transfer window. The following transfer market news comes from The Guardian. So be sure to check them out as they provide up-to-the-minute transfer market information in the world of football. First, it's Benjamin Sesko, who goes from RB Leipzig to Manchester United for $73.7 million. United land the signing of the highly rated striker, who says he cannot wait to start learning from Ruben Amorim. Gitano, Manchester United strengthened their attack with this move, and they win the race to sign Sesko, alongside the fact that Newcastle had strong interest in the player. Start us off here, sir.
Yeah, I try and be nice and lenient, especially because he's a young kid, only 22 years old. But when you look at United's track record over the last 15 years of just failing to develop these players, it really just begs the question: like, why do young players continue to want to go to Manchester United? It's not like 15 years ago when United were winning league titles and challenging in Europe, and there was a little bit more incentive there. But now they are firmly a mid-table team. Where you've seen so many young players go and just flounder and fail. I really don't understand it at all.
I'm not entirely sure about it either, but what I will say, I suppose it's positive, that I rate the player. I think he's very good, and I think that he's going into a team that isn't particularly good, that has a good and up-and-coming coach. So with this one, I think that there's potential. If it's gonna, hit the ground running sort of thing, completely different story. Don't know about that, but I think that there is some potential there. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, he doesn't regret his decision and wish that he would have went to Newcastle instead. Ilya Zabarny goes from Bournemouth to PSG for $54.8 million. I'm here to give everything, said Zabarny in his first statement to the press as a PSG player. The European champions, PSG, complete the highly anticipated signing of the centre-back on a deal until 2030. The Ukrainian international will wear the number 6 shirt. Gitano, a huge signing for PSG.
It's a really wild world we're living in 2025 when Bournemouth is selling starting center backs to PSG and Real Madrid. Just kind of speaks to the depth of the Premier League and the quality that's there. But fantastic young player, turns 23 just in a couple of weeks here. It's fantastic last year. Only 4 yellow cards in his 36 appearances. As a center back, especially in a team that's not possession heavy, doing a lot of defending, that's just fantastic. He's just really, really solid. This is, again, we've talked about the change in PSG's kind of transfer signings, and again, this is bringing in a guy who's not a superstar center back by any means, but is he going to do the dirty work and make big tackles and make life miserable for forwards? Absolutely. It's a great signing for them.
It's a great signing indeed, and has to be said from a Bournemouth perspective, 3 out of their 4 starting defenders out the door this summer. Isn't that crazy? Like you said, what a world that we're living in, aren't we? Lucas Chevalier goes from Lille to PSG for $47.6 million. The 23-year-old goalkeeper said to the press, quote, "I am a kid who is realizing his dream. Since I was little, I have wanted to play at the highest level," end quote. Gitano, he will have his chance to play at the highest level at PSG amid some of the rumors with Donnarumma. What are your thoughts here?
Again, just another fantastic signing for PSG. 11 clean sheets and only 36 goals conceded in 34 appearances in the league last year. You're getting a player who's familiar with the league already, having played basically top flight football for the past couple of seasons. This is just... It's odd that you bring in this guy when you have a 26-year-old like Gigio Donnarumma, still on the books, but obviously there's been a falling out there, and they're going to bring in a little bit of a younger goalkeeper. But yeah, fantastic signing.
I think it's a fantastic signing as well for now and for the future. The potential is absolutely huge. Darwin Nunez goes from Liverpool to Al Hilal for 46 million. The 26-year-old striker made 143 appearances for Liverpool after arriving from Benfica in 2022. Nunez scored 40 goals during his time with the Reds. Gitano, what can be made of this move?
I'm shocked at the fee that Liverpool got for him. He was awful at his time in Liverpool. Never really hit the ground running. Had like little moments here and there, but for any team, just to spend that kind of money on him again after seeing how poor he was, shocking, really.
Yeah, and you know what? Jurgen Klopp couldn't get the best out of him as much as he tried. Arne Slot, albeit he only worked with him for one season, couldn't get the best out of him. So I think that this move was imminent. He was bound to leave this season, especially with some of the transfers that Liverpool had coming in this summer. So with that fee, I'm pretty sure that Liverpool's got to be somewhat happy, and hopefully for Nunez, he can reignite his career out there in Saudi Arabia. Joel Hato goes from Ajax to Chelsea for 38.5 million. The highly rated 19-year-old left back who made his senior debut for the Netherlands at the age of just 17 joins Chelsea from the Eredivisie club. Gitano, what is your feeling on this one?
I mean, it's the same feeling I have for most Chelsea transfers. It's just like that squad is just so bloated. You need about 15 more outgoings before you can even think about bringing anyone in. Um, and again, for a young player that's not going to be a guaranteed starter, not going to get guaranteed minutes to, and that's Chelsea. It's not even you're going to sit on the bench. Like you might not be in the squad for half of the season just because of
Yep.
the sheer numbers there. I do think he's a fantastic young player and has a great future, but I just think a move to Chelsea might not have been the kind of the brightest choice.
Yeah, I really couldn't have said it better myself. The only thing that I'm going to add to that is that at least he's not an attacking player. You know what I mean? So the fact that they didn't sign somebody who could play as a striker or from the left or from the right, that was kind of something different that I didn't expect. But I also rate the player, and he might only be playing cups for the next couple of seasons, but maybe he will find himself inside the match day squad or even an 11 here in the years to come. Arden Jashari goes from Club Bruges to Milan for 31 million. Last season's Player of the Year in Belgium's Pro League gets his big move to the San Siro and signs a 5-year contract. Catano, I got to be perfectly honest here. I know nothing about the player, like zero, apart from the fact that he played in Switzerland's national team because, of course, they beat Italy last summer in the Euros, unfortunately. But I really know nothing about the player. But this does seem like a pretty big move given the fact that he was Belgium's Pro League Player of the Year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I don't know too much. I've read very couple little things. Mostly what I've kind of heard from kind of the Milan side is that they're reinvesting the money from the Rangers signing to Man City and kind of rebuilding their midfield and not just spending it all on one like an exact replica of to get to Johnny Rangers, but like kind of spreading out, building a more complete midfield. And at 23 years old, he kind of has been spoken about as like the jewel of the rebuild. So yeah, I think especially in the Serie A for Milan, like I think he's going to be a great signing. He impressed at the Euros. Yeah, I think this, even if it isn't, if he's not a world beater and a Serie A MVP or anything like that, like if he just is a solid DM for them, like I think that'll be money well spent.
Some great insight, sir, and I appreciate that, and I will definitely take your word on it for sure. Evan Gesson goes from Nice to Aston Villa for 30.5 million. The Ivory Coast international at age 24 scored 12 goals as Nice finished fourth in Ligue 1 last season. Gitano, the forward signs on a 5-year deal at Villa Park. The floor is yours.
Yeah, this is exciting signing for the Premier League. I think he's definitely got plenty of room to grow, but 20 goals and 80 appearances for Nice over 2 years is nothing to be like. That's a really good return, especially when you think that he was 21, 22, 23 during those years. So I definitely think there's a lot of room for him to grow. At Villa, he's going to play a pretty attack-minded game. Like they're going to have a lot of the ball. I think this is a really good signing.
Definitely, and what I will say from an Aston Villa perspective, they've had a very quiet summer, like abnormally quiet. So the fact that they were able to bring this one in, I think, is a very good signing for them indeed. Kieran Dewsbury Hall goes from Chelsea to Everton for 28 million. A year after moving to Stamford Bridge for 30 million, the midfielder leaves on a permanent deal as a Conference League and Club World Cup winner. Gitano, I hate to say that we called this one, but basically a year ago today, we were sat in this exact same position and we were talking about the fact that we didn't know what this deal for Kieran Dewsbury Hall would mean going to Chelsea. You and I both hemmed and hawed about it. We said, don't know where he fits in, if he's going to get game time, what he's going to play, how he's going to play, if he's going to play. And quite literally, a year on, he's going to a new club and probably a much better club for him at least. But if you could break this one down for us.
Yeah, I mean, 259 Premier League minutes. That's that's all I've got to say for it. It's just yeah, when we talk about Chelsea signings, like I just don't understand why. I'll never understand that. And yes, he won a couple trophies, like fantastic, great for him. Probably got good bonuses, got paid well at Chelsea, but like as a player who, he was 25 when he signed for Chelsea, he's 26 now. Like to just waste a year of your career for 259 Premier League minutes is, yeah, just really poor business all around. But for Everton, I think, he's definitely going to get minutes. He's going to be looking to start probably 30 plus games, barring injuries and suspensions. So I think this is going to be a much better move for his career. Is he going to light the world on fire at Everton? Probably not. But is he going to be a solid midfielder for them? Kind of do all the business? Absolutely.
Yeah, this is going to be a good move for his career, no doubt, because he's going to get the minutes, he's going to get the playing time, he's actually going to be able to be a part of something, and for the quality of player that he is, I think that he definitely deserves that. And lastly, Enzo Milo goes from Stuttgart to Al Ahly for 25.9 million. The 23-year-old midfielder moves to Saudi Arabia despite receiving interest from Atletico Madrid and Tottenham. Gitano, are you surprised that moves to teams who will be playing in the Champions League were turned down here?
A little bit, but then you remember how much money the Saudi Arabians are going to offer him to play there, and you definitely know Spurs weren't going to give him that. Like that they're off the table right there. Atletico's a little more liberal with their wages, but still probably not anywhere near what a Saudi Arabian club is going to offer. So when you consider that, I'm not surprised he ended up in Saudi Arabia despite some Champions League interest, but like we've said, it's generational wealth. It's so hard to turn down, and for not the best season last season, 6 goals, 5 assists, and 29 matches in the Bundesliga. It's fine output. It's nothing crazy. To get a wage packet probably worth more than what a guy like a star player in the Bundesliga is making. Like,
yeah,
really hard to say no to that.
Hard to say no to that indeed. And I would also say young enough that if he ever did want to return to Europe, I think that he could do that without a problem. And Gitano, we did not cover each and every transfer that has occurred so far during this summer transfer window. Are there any that we missed that have caught your eye as of recent?
So we talked about Heung-min Son going to LAFC. That's now been confirmed. I think he's already made his debut, if I'm not mistaken. So that one's a big one for the league as well.
Yes.
Because he's not, I don't want to say he's in his prime years, but he's not out of his prime years. Like, he is still an extremely good player. If he had stayed at Spurs this season, like, there would have been no issues. Like his son getting too old. Like, he would have put up 15, 20 goals, probably 10, 15 assists. Like, he would have been a totally fine Premier League player. So for the MLS to land him is huge. And then also we kind of mentioned the Donnarumma stuff. So Man City's just, last time we recorded, I said, yeah, Man City's probably done for the window. Like, shouldn't be anything else. The last 2 days have been insane. So Spurs have come in for Savinho with around a £50 million bid that's been rejected, but City haven't outright said he's not for sale. So if Spurs want to come back with a bigger bid, there's a chance that Savinho goes. If Savinho goes, City are going to use that money and go get Rodrigo to Real Madrid. And now, as Donnarumma has fallen out at PSG, there were some Turkish clubs circling Ederson earlier in the window, who City are now trying to reach out to make a deal for Ederson to bring in Donnarumma. This is all kind of rumors and speculation, so I don't want to confirm anything. Like, I'm not Fabrizio Romano here, but yeah, a lot going on. And then Jack Grealish going on loan for the season to Everton. Wish him the best. He was a great player, love him, but didn't really work out at City. But yeah, that's all I got.
Well, it's all you got, but it's a great chunk of things, I got to tell you. And just before I get into one that really caught my eye, there's 2.5 weeks left of the window. So if we're talking about like madness happening now, could you imagine the next 2.5 weeks of what's going to transpire? Cannot wait, Gitano. The one for me that really stood out, Thomas Mueller to the Vancouver Whitecaps. I mean, Mueller's been a serial winner his entire career, internationally, at club level. He's literally done it all. I think that this is a huge move for an already fantastic Vancouver team. I'm now tipping them, for just me personally, as the favorites to win the MLS this year. And I really do hope that that happens, because it is a great club and it is a top player. So definitely a great move there. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on in Vancouver. And as the summer transfer window progresses, you can get all of your major updates throughout the summer right here on Full Time. For some, it seemed like yesterday, and for others, it felt like an eternity. But, however you may have felt, Europe's Big Five and all European League competition is back as of this week. Gitano, it's the start of a new season that is on the horizon. It is just days away. How are you feeling, my friend?
I'm trying not to get too excited, because if I get too excited, I'm not going to focus on anything else for the rest of the week. So I've been trying to just like put it off and ease away from it. But yeah, it's getting really exciting.
Yeah, it's getting really exciting. It's getting incredibly real, because there's no more fixtures that are happening in terms of preseason games. So you know that it's just 1 week of preparation for teams before they have that first game of the season, which again kicks off this weekend. So exciting. And what we are going to do here and now is take you through Europe's Big Five leagues, a review of last season, and then the funnest thing, in my opinion, that we get to do on Full Time, and that is make our predictions for the upcoming season. We start with no place other than the English Premier League. Last season, it was a surprise to many given the departure of Jurgen Klopp, but Liverpool dominated the league en route to winning the title in Arne Slot's first season in charge. With a new season on the brink, Liverpool will be looking to retain their title, whilst everyone else will be looking to dethrone the champions and claim it for themselves. Gitano, before we get into predictions, what do you foresee happening this season in the Premier League?
I hope it'll be a lot closer. Even when City like we're running away with titles, like as happy as you are with it, with winning it, like you still want. There's nothing better than like match day 38, like titles on the line. Watching 3 or 4 games at a time, trying to figure out what's going on. Like that to me is like the best case scenario as long as City win. So yeah, I would like to see, even if it, 1 or 2 match weeks left wouldn't be like the worst thing in the world, but I don't want the title wrapped up in March, put it that way.
Yeah, you and me both. And I do anticipate personally that this season you're going to have, I don't want to say as high as 6. I think that's probably too many, but I do genuinely think maybe until the final 8 or so weeks, I think that you're going to have 4 teams genuinely contending for the title. I think it's going to be a lot closer than last year, no doubt. And Gitano, along with the champion, who is going to be your top 5 this year in the Premier League?
So I think City will win it, because I'm never not going to say City. We could be in League Two, and I'm going to still tell you we're going to win the Premier League.
Yep.
Liverpool and Arsenal for me are kind of going back and forth between 2 and 3. I think that will be the top 3, and in some order will be City, Liverpool, Arsenal. At 4 and 5, there's a bunch of teams kind of in that bubble that I'm not overly sure about. I think Newcastle, as long as Alexander Isak actually plays this season, because there's rumors that he's not going to play if he doesn't get his move to Liverpool. But if they keep him and he plays and scores, I think they'll get 4th. And then 5th, I'm kind of torn between Chelsea, because they always just happen to, even when they're awful, and we talked about last year, like we never see them win games, but they somehow end up, in those European places. And then Forest, I don't know how much their European football is going to impact them. They have a big enough squad. I just don't know if there's enough quality in there. I'm going to go with Chelsea to finish 5th.
Fair enough. So basically, Gitano, as is often the case, we have so much of the same stuff, just in a slightly different order. So obviously, I'm going to pick Arsenal to win the league. I actually think, and I think you'll be happy with this, I'm going to give your Manchester City a little bit of a tilt of the cap. I think that they're actually in a better position than Arsenal and Liverpool, and here's why. Everyone's talking about Liverpool being the perennial favorites, and rightly so, and everyone's talking about the fact that Arsenal has to win. Nobody's really talking about the comeback of Manchester City, which for Manchester City, that's probably the perfect little pocket perfect little space to be in, I would say, the perfect headspace as well. So I am going to take Arsenal. I'm going to take Manchester City to come second, Liverpool to come third. In fourth place, I'm going to put Chelsea. I think that again, which whatever 11 you want to pick, and there's a lot to pick from, I think that there's enough there to get them into one of the top 5 spots. So I'm going to put them fourth. And with Newcastle, I have great faith in Eddie Howe. I have great enough faith in the squad that they have, even maybe without Isak playing, that they will grab fifth. So that's going to be my top 5. And with the infamous title run, Gitano, comes the infamous relegation battle. Who will be the 3 teams, G, in your eyes, that just might go down this season?
See, this is the tough part because I don't want to say it's going to be the 3 teams that came up, because the way the Premier League has been the last couple of years, it's so difficult for those teams coming up to avoid relegation. I do think Sunderland are going to go back down. They have started a project. I just don't think they're quite there yet in terms of they can stay in the Premier League consistently. And I would love if they did, because whenever they play Newcastle, it's always limbs. And Sunderland's just... I watched that documentary, and it was a great documentary, the Netflix one from a few years back. So I've got a little bit of soft spot for them, but I do think they'll go down. I think Leeds will go down. And I think United are going to go down.
Well, you know what? It's funny you should say that, because I was going to say, I'm not sure that this season we're going to see Tottenham and Manchester United around the relegation places, but you said it. You went and done it. Is that your bold prediction for all of these?
Yeah, because like we talked about last year, if it weren't for all 3 of the teams that were relegated last year having like nearly like historically bad seasons, like United and Spurs would have been relegated.
Yep.
I think Spurs have done enough to kind of turn things around, and I think the new manager boost might be big for them. But I hate United, and I want to see them fail miserably. So genuinely, if they got relegated, would be better than City winning the treble or 4 in a row or anything. There would be no living that down for United fans. It would be the best.
That is brilliant that you just said that. I think that's hilarious, but fair play to you. I am slightly different than you with these ones anyways. One of them that we do agree on, I'm going to say that Leeds are going to go down. I think that Burnley are also going to go down. I might eat those words because I also didn't think that they'd come back up this year necessarily, but then they had a historic season in the championship. So I am going to take Burnley and Leeds, and just kind of like you gave the shout there for United, as you always got to pick something a little drastic. I've kind of gone outside the box, if you will. The third team that I think just might go down this season, I'm not sure how you're going to feel about this. I think Wolves might just go down this season. I don't know why I feel that. I think Sunderland's going to stay up. I also think Brentford, who've had a lot of shouts that they are going to go down because they've lost a lot of players this summer, I think they are going to stay up. But for me, I think that Wolves is going to have a few slip-ups this season. They have been known time and time again to change managers like they change socks. So I think that we can, if you were to say who's going to be the first manager sacked this season, I could see a September sacking, and I could see a new manager coming in, then possibly a new one before the end of the season. Given the way that things turned around in the second half of the season last year, fair enough, but I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do that twice. So I'm going to take Burnley, Leeds, and Wolves to go down, Gitano.
I don't hate the Wolves shout at all, by the way. I was considering them. They have reinvested some of the Cunha money well, but they're also that type of team that, like, when things go bad, it's never like a quick turnaround. It's like 8 weeks of like just the worst results you'll ever see, the worst football you'll ever see, and then they slowly kind of piece it together. But I think if you do that one too many times in a season, especially in a season like this, I think it's not a terrible shout at all.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And another thing that I'm going to say on that, I do believe that the top, again, sort of 4 to 6 is going to be a lot tighter than it was last year. I also think you're going to have more teams in the relegation battle this season than we did the past couple of seasons, because you're calling possibly a 3 up, 3 down again, for that would be the 3rd season in a row, which is very possible, by the way. But I actually do think that there's going to be more teams in and around the relegation zone that are actually in the fight, unlike Tottenham and Manchester United last year. In Spain's La Liga last season, it was Barcelona who made the ultimate surge en route to winning the title and scoring 102 goals over the span of 38 games. Gitano, it's a new season, and for many teams in Spain, at least so far with this summer transfer window, a lot of new looks to various squads. What happens this season in La Liga, and who will be the champion come the end of it?
I kind of want to say Atletico Madrid. I love their business last year and this year. We talked about it last summer. They maybe weren't building to win last season, kind of building to win in a couple of years. We've seen what they've done already in the transfer window. I really do like their business, and not that I think Barcelona or Madrid have done bad business, but I really do think that Diego Simeone is cooking up something special there, and I think this might be the season for it. So I'm going to take Atletico Madrid to win the league. Barcelona and Real Madrid again, kind of same as Arsenal, Liverpool, 2 and 3 in whatever order. I don't think there's not much of a difference between the two of them at this point. And then rounding out the European places, I think Real Betis are going to get it, and they've been really good in Europe. They had a decent enough campaign last season. They're looking to sign Anthony on a permanent deal, who was fantastic for them. Shocked when you leave United, you remember how to play football again. But yeah, I think they're going to kind of ride the high of how good their season was last year, plus the summer editions, and I think they're going to get Champions League football next year.
Love those shows, Gitano, and I don't think it'll be too much of a shock to our viewers. I'm also taking Atletico Madrid. I think that the business that they've done to an already good team that they had this summer, I think it's just going to bolster them all the way further. Diego Simeone, in my opinion, your opinion, most people's opinion, one of the best coaches in all of world football. So for me, this is a perfect storm. And then again, you can interchange Barcelona, Real Madrid at 2 and 3. And then I'll leave that fourth spot open for whoever else. But I think that this is Atletico Madrid's year. I think that it's definitely brewing. In Italy, Serie A went down to the final match day last season with the most enticing title race in all of Europe. In the end, Napoli was able to get it over the line to win the league, by a single point over Inter Milan. Gitano, in Serie A this season, what do you anticipate, and who is going to win the Scudetto?
This is a tough one because we saw a couple of major teams who had really good runs absolutely fall off a cliff last year. I'm talking about AC Milan. And then Inter slipping up kind of late in the title run to give it to Napoli. Juventus never really got into the title race. I think all of the top Italian clubs, I should say, have done really good business this summer. I think Napoli are going to retain. I think the addition of Kevin De Bruyne and no significant losses to that squad, I think is going to be a major difference for them. I think Kevin De Bruyne is still one of the best midfielders in the world. And Serie A is a slower league. He's got his international teammate Romelu Lukaku, who famously does significantly better for Belgium than he does at club level because he's not playing with KDB. Now that they're going to link up, I think Lukaku is going to have a monster season. I'm talking like 35 plus Serie A goals, and I think they are going to retain the title. And then with some mix of AC Milan, Inter, and Juve in 2, 3, and 4. Again, he's kind of in the mix. Any of those three in that order is, yeah.
I like that show, Gitano. I'm also taking Napoli. I think that it's just kind of, it's a perfect match, isn't it, in terms of the coach, the build of the players, the squad retention, all of that, the football that they played last season, etc. The only